All right, everybody, what are we on, day 8, I think? Something like that. We're gonna look at some stuff from word problems, and then we're gonna start exploring what we need for chapter 5 in particular. The hardest part with mathematics, word problems, is like translating the English to some math. Translating the words to math is probably the hardest part. So let's make a list of keywords that go with like our common symbols. Keywords list. Let's start off with the equal sign. Well, equal is obviously one of them. But think of words like is, was, yields, gives, are, results in. These can imply the equal sign. Oftentimes is very much an equal sign. You'll see it a lot. You might see the word equivalent. Or. I was gonna use another word, but I think that goes to the next category a little bit better. Plus. Addition. So add. Plus. More. Greater. Some variant of the word increase, like increases, increased. And then sum or total. These are two words that indicate the outcome of addition. Outcome of addition. Minus sign, well, minus is one of them. Subtract. Less. Fewer. Reduce or reduce by, something like that. A variant of the word reduce or decrease. And the word that means the outcome of subtraction is difference. Difference is the outcome of subtraction. It's got a name. Multiply. Multiply doesn't have that many. Multiply or times are the ones we use the most often. Factor is one of the things that you multiply together. Like 2 times 3, the 2 and 3 are both factors. And the outcome of multiplication is called the product. So like what is the product of two numbers? They're asking what do you get when you multiply them? Divided doesn't have that many. It also doesn't have a lot. Divided or divided by. Split or split up. Shared among, maybe. And the outcome here, quotient is the outcome of division. You ready for more? Ain't that many of you, it's really easy to see when you all got it right. Let's look at a couple examples. 5 times the sum of a number and 2 is 13. So the is gonna be our equal sign. And on the right side of the equal sign is the number 13. Now, 5 times the sum, what's implied here is the sum happens first. Cause you can't do 5 times it until you have it. So it says the sum of number and 2. They don't tell us what the number is. So we gotta give it a variable. So we could say like x plus 2. This is a number, we don't know what it is, but it will be a number. And then we want 5 times it, but we don't know what the number is, so we can't add it yet. So we're gonna put it in parentheses. And then we'll do 5 times. And that'll be our multiply. We're gonna start we use dots for multiply. So we're going to translate it to be a pain in the ass, as you'll see. This next sentence has the exact same words as the previous sentence, arranged in another order. And what it's asking for is completely different. So is still an equal sign, so we're gonna have equals 13. The sum of is implying addition. And what are we adding? We're gonna add up 5 times the number and 2. We don't know what the number is, so we'll give it an x. 5 times that number would be 5 times x. Plus 2. Exact same words. All I did is took the words the sum of and put them before 5 times. And it changes what happens here. Thankfully, the stats problems aren't as bad in that regards, but you have to pay attention to what they're asking. That's the harder part. Cause they'll throw that shit in a big ass paragraph. And sometimes I look at it and go, huh?
Yeah, reread it.
Yeah, like what the? Did you phrase this question the way you think you phrased it? Cause I don't know what the fuck you're asking and I teach this shit. Difference. Of y and 4. Is the quotient. Of y and 2. So is there equal sign? And what happens on the left? Is difference of y and 4. When you see difference of, and you got two things, generally the one that comes first is the one that's subtracting the other number. Cause difference is subtract, and so we're gonna have y minus 4. The same thing happens with quotient. Quotient is division. So generally, whatever comes first is the one is written like that. And another way of writing that is y over 2. We tend not to use division sign, we tend to make fractions. Are we having fun yet? Why not, Amar? Am I not making it fun enough for you?
I prefer math over English, but they both English and math, so. I'm not all.
Right? Yeah, the bad thing about stats class is people hear that it's like the easier one to take for like a general education. But what you're not told is it's like almost all word problems. Which is how real life is, real life doesn't just throw equations at you to solve, you're given like something to do and it's in words. Here's ones that kind of connect with where we're going. What is 15% of 60? Now, this is one I didn't mention earlier, maybe I should have. So that our equal sign is. What is some unknown value? We don't know what it is. I'm gonna use a question mark for a variable now. We don't need to use letters. When you have percentages. Of terms is multiply when it's. With percentages. So I'm gonna turn the 15%, I'm gonna write it as a decimal. By moving the decimal point left twice. And it's gonna get multiplied by 60. we can actually figure out what that is. Nine. Another way to do this is the way I remember learning it. Is the is of percent triangle. For percentage problems, you'll always have two of these. And you're looking for the third. And if you have the of and the percent. So option one is when you have these two numbers. Have and have. And what you're looking for is. These two are side by side, so side by side is multiplied. Without putting numbers there. In this last example, that triangle would have been. Is 0.15. And the other option is when you have one of the, you have the is and one of the other ones. So we may have this one. And this one. And we're missing the percent. Or we have the top one and the percent. But not the of. In both of these cases. The halves are over each other, kind of like a fraction bar, and that's what it ends up being. So this is division. Is over the half from bottom. So 32 is what percent? Of, I don't know. 80. We do it the way I did it first with the equation first. The is our equal sign and 32 is on the left. What percent? I don't know. I'm gonna put a smiley face as a variable here. But of is the percentage and the of multiply together, so it's that times 80. So if I want to get the smiley face, I can divide both sides by 80. And I get smiley face percent equals 32 over 80. And I'm getting 0.4. That's not a percentage though, is it? So we need to turn to a percentage by moving the decimal right twice. Filling in a 0 as necessary. This is 40%. If I do this as the triangle. 32 went with the is, it's right next to it. Percent was the unknown. And 80 was the of. So notice the 32 over 80. When we were done doing the algebra, we still got 32 over 80. That's ready? Let's say, in a class, tests are the entire grade. Test scores are the entire grade. And the final exam counts as 2 tests. Fuck it, let's say 3 tests. Jose scored 78, 84, 62, 95, and 76 on the 5 exams before the final. What does he need on the final? To get. Well, let's do 3 things. A and A. Or 90%. Then we'll do option B, gets a B. Or at least 80%. And C. Or 70%. Okay, so when you have a bunch of things in a category. What we're doing is we have to average the scores. So if the final exam counts as 3 test scores. How many total test scores are there? And remember, with the final is 3. How many scores do we already have? You already took 5 tests. So 5 scores. Plus 3 from the final. Would give us 8 total scores. And what are we doing when we average things? How do we do an average?
Add them all up.
We add them all up and then we divide by the total. So we're gonna add them all up. So we're gonna add up the 78, the 84. The 62. The 95. And 76. And fine. Since the final counts as 3, I'm gonna say 3 times F. Cause I don't know what F is. Maybe I'll just say the word final. We don't need to use a single letter for a variable. We can say what we mean. And there were 8 scores or 8 tests possible. Then we gotta think about what would go on the right. So like, this is a little sidebar here. If I had 100% on one test. And 80% on the second test. What's the average of these two? Average would be 100 plus the 80 over 2. 180 over 2 is 90. So like when I was doing it here, I didn't put percents here. Scores are usually implying percents. So this whole thing is a percent. So we're just listing the percent over here that we want, not as a decimal, but as a total number. So if we're looking for an A, we need to put a 90 over here. And so I added up those first 5 scores. I got 395. I'm gonna say plus 3F to save some room. Over 8. Equals 90. So the first thing we're gonna do is say fuck fractions. So clear the fractions by multiplying both sides by the 8 to get rid of the fraction. If I do that, I have 395 plus 3F on the left equals 90 times 8 is 720. Then to solve for this, we subtract 395 from both sides. If you do that, you're gonna get 3F equals 325.
Lost,
Alright,
sorry,
It's okay.
Where did the 3F come from?
that's my 3 times final.
Okay,
I wanted to conserve room right there.
so 395,
So here we multiply both sides by to get rid of the 8. And we're trying to get F by itself, figure out what the final exam score's gotta be.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah.
And with the algebra, we move stuff, things that are added or subtracted to it first. Then we divide by what's multiplied in front of it. We're here, we're moving the stuff that's added to it by subtracting it. Does that make sense?
Kinda. I'm trying, so the eights, so we're multiplying, we're canceling out. The,
The 8 on bottom here cancels out with that 8 right there.
Okay.
Cause it's like doing fractions, and when we multiply fractions, things that are on the top and the bottom will cancel if they're multiplied. Now we're doing moving it with subtraction, we get here. And now to get rid of something multiplied by it would divide. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. And so here the 3 cancels as well. And we have F equals 325/3. Which is 108.33%. Which means unless there's extra credit on the final exam. Jose's not getting an A. Can he get a B? So A is unlikely. Let's take a look at a B. We have the same setup, nothing on the left has changed. The right side though is our target percentage. We need at least an 80%. So we'll put an 80 over there. Why don't you guys try working through that, see what you get for F before I do it? 'Cause we're gonna do this on the 70, this will give you guys some practice doing a little bit of algebra. It's still working. Anyone wanna be brave and tell me what they got?
.66.
81.66, anyone else get that?
I got it. I was never, I wasn't brave enough to say.
I see, as soon as you heard confirmation, yeah,
I did it right. Okay, give us one more, I'm for sure I'm gonna get it right.
I will, I wanna make sure everyone did the same thing. I didn't see everyone waving their hands, so we multiply by the 8. And we get 395 plus 3F equals 640. You subtract the 395. You get 3F equals 245. Divide by 3 and F equals 81.67%. Or the sixes keep going. So if he gets a B on the exam, he gets a B in the class, that's not bad. And. Let's say he set his sights, he's like, fuck it, all I want is just to pass. All I need is a 70%. So we're gonna do the same setup with 70 on the right. That's
You
what it
didn't
looks
even
like
get
it's
the
gonna
chance to
be.
do it.
No,
You already did it?
yeah, I was doing it well, yeah, I was like, might as well just do all of them.
I did say we were gonna do it earlier, so. We'll do something like this in class, like a couple weeks before the final. So you go like, what are you? Hopefully I'll have the projects, I don't know. Couple weeks before the final, I won't have the project created by then, because you guys won't be done. But like maybe right before, we can fill in everything that you would need before that. And you'll have your equation ready to go, this is what I need to do. And figure that shit out.
What'd you get?
If you multiply by
I
the
got it
8,
70, I got 78.
what did you get for 70 times 8?
I got 560.
Yep. What'd you get
Oh.
after you subtracted 395?
165.
And what did you do from there to get a 78?
I messed up. I skipped it, I skipped this step. So then after the 165, you divide it by 3, right?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
you might have to hit the equals
yeah,
first.
55.
So he can basically fail the final and still pass the class.
Wow.
Keep that shit in mind. A lot of students don't think about math that goes along with it, but teachers. For pretty much every class, post what percentage is each category. They'll tell you like 10% on quizzes and this percent on this, and. If you know what you got, you can calculate what you need, and that way. You can walk into the final with less stress. Cause like before this, you might be walking and going, fuck, I need to get something really high. To pass. But he doesn't really need to. That's barely over half. Right? Alright, that's fun. We'll do something like that near the end of the semester. Stuff that we'll see in chapter 5, because this kind of notation pops up all the time. Chapter 5 content. Specifically for this. Scientific notation pops up a lot in here. Because oftentimes we get small percentages. So like when we have a specific number, they might write it as y times 10 to some power m. Let me give you some examples to put it in perspective. The mass of the sun in kilograms. Is 1.989 times 10 to the 30. 30 power. And when we're dealing with kilograms. Or when we're dealing with. Positive exponent here. What we do is we take that decimal and we move it right. Move right 30 times. Move right the number of exponent, the exponent. Move the decimal right, that's better. The exponent value. So this is 3. And I'll do another 3. And that's 6 so far. That's 9. That's 12. 15. 18. 21. 24. 27. 30. Oh my god, those look like the little aliens on Toy Story. The little triple eyes. That's fine, that's great.
So the long aliens.
And if I was putting commas in here. Whether this is millions, billions, trillions, quadrillion, I don't even know what's past quadrillions. Quintillions, maybe, sextillions, septillions, octillions.
Oh my God,
I think when it's in the,
I never even heard of that.
the point is, this is a really big fucking number. Like if you were thinking money. Just equate it to money. $10 million is enough to set up anybody for life. I don't care how fucking old you are. Unless you are fucking wasteful, 1 million maybe not enough.
No.
Cost of living's going up.
There was a show about that, how people won the lottery and how fast they lost it.
I've seen that.
Yeah, like on stupid.
It happens too often. People get stupid with it.
They'll buy like mansions and luxurious cars, but not, they don't have enough money to keep up with.
Right,
When
they
you look
they
at a lot
can't
of like
maintain it.
people that have become famous or like rich and fell off within the first year or two.
Yeah.
Just from not having good management or good financial
Right,
advisor. Buy jewelry.
right. So like that kind of puts it in perspective how big that is. The mass of a dust particle.
Buy a planet.
Now you're going, should be really small, right? 7.53 times 10 to the negative 10 kilograms. So if I have 7.53. The negative says. Move that sumbitch left. So 1, 1, 2, 3. Then I need another 3. And then I need another 3. So 0, I'll put a 0 in front of it, 0.0000000000753. A lot of calculators don't even have that many spots for a number on their screen. So, and they clearly don't have that many numbers on this spot for most calculator screens. That's why they use this notation. And you know what? The mass of the sun probably doesn't have zeros in these spots. Mass of the sun probably doesn't have zeros there. But I'm gonna point out to you why we don't give a fuck. And I deal with mine. Let's say you had $10,987,654,321. If you've got $10 billion. Do you care about $321?
Excuse me, no, you don't.
No, like that's a snack for you. You're wasting money. You're spending money on the most expensive shit for no fucking reason. Thousands are even irrelevant to you. Hundreds of thousands are irrelevant to you. This would be like, and I'll give you an example. If I just wrote this as $10,987.65. Do you care about the 65 cents? No, it's meaningless. So like the later numbers don't really matter what they are because they're not gonna have an impact in the big picture. That's why we tend to drop. We don't have all the numbers listed. And that's where we'll pause this video. This is just a start of scientific notation. But we saw what happens. Positive goes right, negative goes left. And next time we'll go work on going back and forth. Alfredo's online. Look at this sneaky bastard. Now I want pasta again.